Yo, talk your shit. Back again. Anti-entertainment podcast. You know what the vibes are. Powers. It's the only Prince with a Y, cause I ask questions, representing anti-entertainment podcast, the mouthpiece to the creative mind, for the people, by the people. As you can see, today, it's a whole new setting. So I have officially moved out the yard, you feel me? I've moved out the yard. Sadly, today we couldn't provide additional headphones, so my guest today cannot hear the glorious sound effects we've got going on. Next time.
Yeah, I wish I could hear them sounds.
So yeah, man, it kind of feels crazy right now. I've not flexed it on Instagram. I've stayed away from that. But for the sake of you guys that are interested in what we're doing with the platform, yeah, this is the new setting. Hopefully it's consistent. Hopefully you won't see us in scattered locations everywhere. So yeah, this is the new place, man. You're going to be seeing a lot of new content here, a lot of familiar faces and new faces at the same time. Recently, my boy Shaq has been involved with the podcast. He's going to be a co-host with me in the future settings. And yeah, man, reminder that I never tend to do this, or we've never tend to have done that in the past, but it's important that you show us a feedback, like, subscribe, comment how you feel, what you like about the podcast, what you didn't like about the podcast, how we can improve. That all means the most to us. So please go do that before we start. Yeah. What else? Yeah. So this will probably be the last podcast of the year. Before everybody breaks up, sees family, etc. in this weird time, yeah. But yeah, man, joining me on the podcast today, he's one of the youngest artists to date, and probably the craziest producer that I know personally. As far as how he experiments, living all around the West Midlands, he's evidently developed a new view through the lens, coming on the radar at a time of only 18 when he released his track, 360, showing immediate promise. Since then, he has gone to fuse his eerily poetic style and distantly nostalgic chop production with fellow artists like Tony Bontana, Oddysee, and many more. Of course, here with me is the one and only OGHOST.
Hello.
I told y'all better believe it. Excuses.
Jeez.
What's up, bro?
How you doing, bro?
I'm good.
So, yeah, I just want to put it out there. I had kind of a crazy experience recently. I deliberately didn't tell you this when you came. But I've been riding my bike a lot in the last. I invested in a bike.
Yeah.
You might think this is random, but invested in this bike, cycling everywhere, right here. And then the other day, I was at a junction and I was on Pershall Road, and I'm cycling back from my auntie's, and it was at a junction, and this woman, it's my right of way, right? Even as a cyclist, I go like this, clock eyes with her and say, okay, you're letting me go. Next minute, I've gone past her, looked behind me. She's up my ass and she's ran me over, fully ran me over, bro. I got hit.
Why are you not telling me this? Why are you not telling me this?
Because I was like, you know what? I'm blessed. Like, I was lucky. It was a miracle that I was fine. I was like, how the hell have I not only not got any injury myself, also how did the bike stay in one piece? So it made me think about a lot and how grateful I am. And obviously, knowing one of the tracks you released recently, a lot went through my head when I listened to that track. And that was a moment where I was like, you know what? All I've got to say is I have no other words. When the woman got out of the car and she was all shook up, and it was like I was looking through someone, I just said, look, I'm grateful that I'm not hurt in it, and that I'm here in it. So yeah, I just wanted you to talk about where your head was at with that track, Grateful, when you made it, where your head was, where your headspace was.
First off, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good, man. You know, with me, I think when I'm in them situations, the adrenaline just takes over. Like I think about like even being in like fights when we were younger, it was like it was very just like one track minded when you get in like a threat.
It happens,
type.
and it happens.
It happens, and then it's not till after you think, oh fuck, I got a cut here, I got a thing there, but it's just a bruise, man, on my leg. That was it. I looked at the bike. The first thing I said, what the fuck, man? Can you check the bike with me with this woman? I was like, can you check the bike? Because I've only just got this bike, innit? Like, that was the first thing that crossed my head, the bike over me. So I don't know, man. But yeah, I'm blessed. I'm good.
The tuner. Just grateful for being here. You know what I mean? Just every day's a blessing. You just take it. My sound level's all good. Yeah, me hearing everything.
Yeah, a little bit closer, but that's all right.
Pull it up. Yeah, the tune. Thinking about it is fucked. If you ever sit down and do art or write anything, you know when like you've written something that means a lot to you. Whether trying to find the right words, whether you know it means something to you now or it's going to mean something to you in the future, if that makes sense.
It's like a recollection, so you express it now so that you can use it later to look back on. Yeah.
But I think the main meaning of the song is just being grateful for everything, like thinking about everything that's happened in my life. Like I've been knocked down by like a few cars in my life, you know what I mean? Like situations like with my parents and stuff. Just to be grateful where I am like in life at the moment. Just my whole situation, you know what I mean? Like from living everywhere, like moving, I've had like stepdads and stuff. So yeah, just moving like schools and that. Just grateful to be in the position I am now. Like if you think back and think about all your steps in your life, if you remove some of them steps, you wouldn't be in the same spot you are now. You know what I mean? So
yeah, 1,000.
Is that?
Yeah, that's interesting as well. Obviously, the reason when I introduced you, I said about living all around the West Midlands, because I think that's an interesting perspective, because you see, even though it's still within one area, there's a lot of different dynamics that go on in different areas of the West Midlands. Do you know what I mean? It's like I lived in like, so my mum now like is on the outskirts. It's the outskirts of Brum, but it's classed as Worcestershire.
Yeah.
So it's like there's elements of dynamics, for example, there that are similar to here, but not the same as well, if that makes sense. Because you're like in between, it's like in between two areas, so there's fusions of two places.
I think there's that as well. Like, I don't know, coming from, because obviously I haven't always lived in Brum. Like, we moved to Brum, I must have been like 11 when I moved to Brum. So when we moved here, it was different because there's so much diversity. You know what I mean? Like, the whole culture's different. Everything's like, as a kid, like I'd never walked through a town and seen more than like two ethnicities like in one spot, you know what I mean? And then it's like everyone. It's just like a beautiful thing to be around, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like coming from like Leicestershire, like Nottingham, and it's just sort of whitewashed, and then you come out of it and it's like, it just doesn't feel like, and then going back to them places, it just doesn't feel right, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to explain, like really, it's a really tough one as well.
But I think
not in like a sense that it's whitewashed, but in a sense that it just seems dead. Like there's no music, art, like even literature and that kind of thing. The things you taught in inner city schools compared to like, I don't know, because when I was at school in Leicester, the stuff they'd teach you, I noticed when I went to schools in Birmingham, like they're different. Like the things they teach you about like history and stuff is different. Even though it's a national curriculum, they'll still teach you different things, you know what I mean?
This is what I was trying to say to my one of the concierges downstairs. We were talking about, so for context, one of the guys is Romanian. But so he grew up in Romania, then he moved to Spain where he moved out, lived there for 10 years, and then up until now after that, I think he moved here 2007. Obviously he's lived here. So but then I kind of was talking about going to like multiple schools, or not multiple schools, but like more than, I went to 2 schools, and how like you always get variance in individual teachers that can make or break the difference. You know what I mean? You might have the same, like you say, the same national curriculum, but you have teachers that are willing to individually say, you know what, the curriculum and the textbooks are saying this, but I'm gonna teach you this. Do you know what I mean? You
know what as well? I think that's a big thing. You just reminded me. So when I moved to Brum, I moved to a school, I fully forgot what the name is. James Brinney, I think.
Okay.
And I had this teacher, I think he was like a teaching assistant called, you should just call him Ed.
Yeah.
Early 20s.
Bring the mic a bit closer. There you go.
He must have been like early 20s. I know his dad worked there. I think he was from like Jamaica, his parents from Jamaica or something. And obviously, he was a bit more, not tough, but he'd let you know, like, whereas other teachers I've had before, they don't put you in a place, you know what I mean, like let you know what's right and what's wrong. And I think that's important as well. Like if you just know one way of living and you've only got like one way of seeing things, it's a bit fucked, you know what I mean? Whereas if you've got like, it's really hard to like verbalise it, you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying. I think it's like if you only have one perspective, you're only gonna understand one perspective.
And like having that, this like talking to him and him telling me different things that I've never like experienced, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Like I've got like friends and their parents like Jamaican or from like Nigeria and stuff, and they get disciplined like. And then when I was talking to them and they're like, if I do something, like my mum will like clap me around the head. It's like, I've never had that before, you know what I mean? Like my grandma might have done it when I was a kid, but I think that's, you know what I mean? It's different than...
Yeah, that's the thing, like when it's a hard one because again, it's hard to eradicate hundreds of years of tradition. Do you know what I mean? I was lucky in the sense that, you know, my grandma was pretty harsh on my mum and my auntie and my uncle as far as like beatings and stuff like that. But I was lucky, not to say I didn't get hit at all by my mum, but lightly. Do you know what I mean? It was never like with stuff. It would just be like a little slap. Do you know what I mean? So it's like sometimes you have that. It's rare to have that break in tradition, which I'm grateful for, you know what I mean? Because it easily could have gone the other way. It's like you either embrace it or you say, I'm going to be the catalyst to change that.
And coming from like different areas, like when I was in year 6, I had this friend called Natea, and she was like, oh yeah, like if my mum, if I do something, she'll just whip a belt out and like whack me with it, and like, you know what I mean? In year 6, like never experiencing that, you think it's like, you're being like beat by your mum, but obviously I've never been exposed to the culture, so it's like it's different. It was different back then, but then you grow up and you understand, you're exposed to more things. It's just a way, like a different way of seeing things. I think as well, discipline, on a subject of discipline, I don't think kids are disciplined enough.
Yeah, this is the issue. I think
even I can say that when I grew up, I love my mum to death. She like raised me 1000% correct, but again, I can't say that she ever really disciplined me like that, you know what I mean? So growing up the past few years, I had to like kind of discipline myself and mature myself more. And I think you see like a lot of kids like running around now, like even little kids. Like when I was like 12, 13, I would have just been in my house playing on my computer, and now you got little 12, 13 year olds like running around on like electric scooters, like kicking people outside of Mackey's, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, nitty behaviour, man.
Yeah, man.
Crazy shit. Yeah, I think this is the thing. I think definitely what you're saying with the youths of this generation, the new upcoming, like people that are kind of 14, 15, 16, that kind of transitional age where you're starting to see responsibility, starting to see society how it really is. Because I remember that breaking point where you're like, okay, I've been told what society is in my family bubble and I've experienced a little bit of it. But when you start to get, I think there was a pivotal point when I was like 12, 13, like high school, basically going to high school. I was like, okay, this is how man them are moving, like with weapons, with stuff like that, which was my first introduction, and seeing like someone bringing I think it was a fake gun, but they were trying to intimidate someone with it, pulled it out in the toilet. I was like, rah, people really are doing that, like a couple of years older than me. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, there's a pivotal point where you lose that innocence and
the shift. Yeah, I went from primary school to year 7 was weird. Because primary school, it doesn't matter what background you come from, the teachers will treat you the same. You know what I mean? They'll treat you as equals. Whereas I think when you go to secondary school, the teachers know the difference between the kids, and I think that's how, you know what I mean, in a fucked up way, like they'll blame the kids more because of their situation, you know what I mean? But going from year 6 where there's nothing, and then going to year 7 where people are like smoking fucking in the toilets and shit. Like, there was one lad that used to bring cigars off a fucking cruise ship back, and he used to be tonking cigars like in the toilets, like.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's weird going from everything being nice and like posters and like to that.
Because I had a little conflict in my own head. I was like, okay, why is this generation like the way it is, as far as there's no respect?
People want to impress each other. People want to impress each other.
Because I was thinking, okay, yeah, because that makes more sense what you said there. Because I was thinking, it's different now, but the similarities when we were growing up in early high school days, where people would still have a lack of respect. It's just different type of respect that is not there now. I think yeah, go on.
I think people think, if you've got everything new, if you've got this, that, the other, if you've got a Louis bag, if you've got a Moncler, whatever you think, you know what I mean? Yeah. Everyone just wants to be following the same thing. Like, yeah, and I think that's just a negative way of approaching things, if that makes sense. Like you're not really narrating your own life at that stage. You're narrating someone else's life that you want to lead, kind of.
I think marketing has always been the biggest component to it, which is why people want to be all the same, because the marketing is telling the consumer, you should be like this, you should be like this, which has been consistent since the 60s or 50s, 60s. But I think the difference between this generation now is because of social media, the access to it is more consistent.
I think as well, I don't want to say the issue is influencers, but I think the issue is low-key influencers. Yeah. Like, it's a sticky subject talking about mental health, but I don't think,
go into it, man.
If it was the way it was, and I don't know, I don't think if Instagram wasn't a thing, I don't think mental health would be nearly as bad, you know what I mean? Like, social media in general is everyone uses it on a daily basis, but it's one of the most negative, toxic places to be, you know what I mean?
Did you see that?
You've got to be on it, but at the same time, you don't need to be on it at all.
Yeah. I think the issue I was fine with it, I'm like, okay, as I'll use it as long as I'm being intentional with it. if I go on there and I say, look, this is my intention to do this, and then I go off it, but a lot of people go on it with no intention, and then that's where, you know, you get lost.
That's me right now. That's when I go pick up my phone and look at it. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a habit. Like,
that's the thing. I think what that I don't know if you saw it, the Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix. Normally, I'm not a big fan of like the Netflix documentaries, but I gave that one a go. There's some decent stuff in there, but it's basically saying that social media is the modern day crack. In the set, or maybe crack is too extreme, but is just the modern day addiction.
not wrong.
But they were saying that what do you call it? Some guy that was working at Google, and he was on like one of the head boards, and he raised the question of Gmail, and he said, look, how do we need to gear towards making Gmail less addictive, and all the staff in the team around the office, in this like the head office in somewhere in America, Oregon or something like that, we're all like, yeah, we're for it. This was in the first like couple of days in the week, and then after that week passed, just silent. But that to me summarized what social media is like. It's like there's a buzz around one post, one topic, and then next week it's gone. So like, yeah, the thing is that's the whole point of the business side of an app, is that you make it as addictive as possible so that you keep getting people using it. Yeah. But yeah, that's the new drugs, man. That's the new
drug. It's free as well. It's free as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just download it, you've got it.
Someone said if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
That's facts. That's facts.
Okay, so I want to transition to a segment that we call quick fire cues. So it is exactly how it sounds. We fire a bunch of quick questions at our guests. Don't overthink these ones. Just answer what comes to your head on it. So the first one is, first thing you think of in the morning?
Weed.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Yeah, a bit closer, but simple or complex?
Simple.
Individualist or collectivist? This one throws them off.
Individual.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Earphones or headphones?
Headphones.
Quiet night in or loud night out?
Quiet night in.
Yeah. Is your glass half full or half empty?
Half full.
Oblivious in paradise or aware in chaos?
Aware in chaos.
Yeesh. What's the one thing you wish people could see?
My soul.
And what is your definition of freedom?
Living your best life at all times.
Okay. Yeah, that was tough, man. That was tough.
Difficult question. Very difficult.
Okay, let's get back to it. I wanted to, because your music is very. I think the reason I admire your music so much is because it's vulnerable. It's very it's raw. Do you know what I mean?
Very vulnerable, raw person.
Yeah. And I think that's admirable to me because I'm into my spoken word and I like my poetry, and people know that I do it, but I don't really push it. And that's something that I am going to push in the near future. I think the reason I haven't pushed it, and I was chatting to G-Man about this on a personal one the other day, was because music to me has always been the most personal art form from a young age, and I've always connected to it in the most like intimate way, I guess you could say, over anything else. So I think when it comes to me actually expressing it, it's like how much of my vulnerability do I really want to put out there? And it's like the conflict of like, should I say this? Should I let people know this? You know what I mean? Cause yeah, and then based off that, I wanted to say, cause I was talking to my girl the other day. She goes to therapy, and obviously I think I was debating the concept of therapy in itself. Like, obviously, a lot of people, when they think of therapy, they think of going to someone else and just sitting down and them just asking you stuff.
No.
You feel me?
I think therapy is something that can help you see yourself, if that makes sense. Understand yourself more, understand your situation more. I think for me, I was actually going to therapy like for a few years, and then I stopped because I started writing. I think as well, therapy is one of them things, you pay somebody to tell you problems, you know what I mean? Like, you haven't got friends that you can tell your problems. You don't tell, like, I'm not paying G-Man, but like, oh yeah, I'm a bit upset today, you know what I mean? Here's £10, like you know what I mean? I roll up a zoot, smoke it, write down my problems, and I think to myself about it, and I get it out, and I let people listen to it.
Yeah, that's what I thought though, because like I had to think to myself, I was like, but don't I already get my therapy from places already without going to someone that you pay for and do X, Y, Z? Do you know what I mean? Because I think I get my therapy from writing, like you say, like in your case, it could be from producing in itself. It's like a form of release. And I always feel better when I create. Like, whatever it is, it always lifts something off me when I create.
That's what creation is. It's manifesting something that's from your brain and you're just putting it out there for people to see. Like, kind of like if you're dreaming and you know what I mean? If you recorded your dreams, that's what it would be. So I think that's like art. You're just thinking of stuff and you put it on paper. Same with writing. It's the same. You're just writing stuff on paper and you're just talking it into a mic and letting people let everyone hear it. But it makes it a lot more easier for me. I think the therapy for me is putting it out there. It doesn't matter if I've written it and recorded it. When I put it out there, that's when I feel like I've got the weight off my chest.
Yeah, when
I don't know, like, it's a weird way to say it. I don't know, like, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe this is me kind of trying to break that down. Maybe it's because that's then giving other people a chance to relate to that vulnerability, and that's where I was gonna say, because a lot of people just get like relief from just writing. Like, my therapist is telling me, if you've got a problem, write it down, you'll feel better for it. I did that, and then it was alright. But as soon as I started releasing more music, it feels way more better. And I think, like, letting other people know your situation as well, and then you know that other people relate with it, it's like humbling in a way, because you don't feel like that way all the time. But the music that I've made now is difficult. It's difficult making it because you're not always in that mood, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, if I want to do an EP or an album, like, you can make a tune, but then you're going to struggle to make a bunch of other tunes sound like that because you don't want to be in that headspace for that long, you know what I mean? Yeah. You just want to make it and then move on. I think, because I think vulnerability in general is like a beautiful thing, in the sense of, what did I say?
I find you're so open to everything.
Yeah. It's like vulnerability offers an opportunity for understanding, and then understanding welcomes a state of like growth. Do you know what I mean? Like, because for example, let's apply it to a relationship. If you don't have that vulnerability, then you're not gonna fully comprehend the dynamics of that person. And I always think with my relationships now, I only invest in relationships that I'm like, I can see this growing. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, what's the point? You're just wasting your time and energy. But people don't get it until Drake says something, and I saw bare females, bare women posting this thing. He must have posted it the other day, and he basically said what I just said there. But yeah, people don't get it till Drake says it. Obviously, most people that know you, especially via social media, know that, you know, because of your music, but obviously we're aware that you've got multiple interests, and me personally, I've had debates with myself like, because I had so many interests growing up, did that hinder me into refining my focus and going into like putting more effort into one craft, or has it made me more of an individual with substance because I have interests in XYZ? But how do you feel about that, being someone that has multiple interests?
The fact that I'm not just doing music and I'm doing other stuff as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very different than writing a verse. You write a verse, if you're angry inside, you might not be able to get the words out. If you're happy, you might not be able to get the words out. But if you're drawing, you're angry, you can just dash a bit of paint on like a paper, like you can proper get your anger out on, like you just draw like some mad shit and you can just like, you know what I mean? You can get it out. But I think that is it's a better visual way of seeing how someone's feeling.
Yeah.
I think I get that as like Basquiat, like
yeah, just
every single picture you can see the pain, you can see the highs and the lows, you can see everything.
Yeah.
So I think it is good to portray that as well.
Who is some of your kind of favorite artists? I say like painters, could even be illustrators.
I don't even say I've got any.
Yeah.
Like I've always just been, ever since I was a kid, I've never been about like the well, I don't want to say theory aspect of it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like technical drawing and stuff.
Yeah. I'm just into doing it. Like,
yeah.
Or it doesn't matter what it is, like
just do it. Innit?
If I'm doing like a little weird face on someone's building, or like if I'm doing it in my sketchbook, like,
yeah,
it feels good, then it's good to get it out of your system.
I see it as a pro, because when it comes to like a whole project, if you have more interests, it's like, okay, for example, I do a lot of graphics. It means that with this platform, you know, I don't necessarily need to hire a graphic designer to do the marketing side of things, etc., etc. So it's like there's less reliance on other people, because at the end of the day, yeah, this is a bit pessimistic, but the only person that's reliable is yourself. Everybody else, people are unreliable, people are inconsistent, no matter who it is. I would never place reliance or dependence on another human being. Like, I can say, yeah, let's do this, let's do that, but I'm not going to depend on them.
You can only ever believe that you're going to be honest to yourself.
You know what I'm saying?
If you believe that everyone's going to be honest to you in your life, then you're a fool, you know what I mean?
So I want to introduce our next segment that we like to call Wheel Up.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
So this is where we play our favorite tune of the month, tune of the week, tune of the month, to our artist and or to our guest even.
The bands that you're making don't change your person. That person we all know. What can we do though? Thought I knew his true colour. Now we look two-tone. So many bad connections. I got a new phone. I just pray I die in peace and not pieces when I get called home. Fuck it. I don't even care, man, I just go with it, fam. It's love until it's not, blood, I just don't get attached. That's how I cope with these man. Nobody's holding my hand, trust me. No one but the woman I've slept with can say they bust me. Hardest working rapper in the country. Never thirsty, but I'm hungry.
That was fire.
Yeah, that was Chilingo bobbing for apples. But yeah, it's almost like the title is a parable. I ain't quite thought into what the title was trying to say, but
Bobbing for apples.
Bobbing for apples, yeah. I have to give that one a think.
Ever done apple bobbing?
Nah, you know.
It's difficult, bro.
What is it?
You know when you get them big buckets of water.
Yeah.
You fill it with apples, and you put your hands behind your back, and you got to bob your head in and try and bite that apple, innit?
Yeah.
So I think it's like
that's a medieval thing, innit?
No, this yeah, but
originally.
Yeah, originally. I suppose.
Cool fights and that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was I've only been to a handful of them.
Bobbing for apples. I don't know. I would say like some of the stuff he's talking about. I don't know. Trying to get in a better situation.
Yeah.
Obviously, apple bobbing. You're gonna miss the apple a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's like chances. I feel like as well, especially within the I won't even say within the black community only, but within the melanated community, let's say, it's very crabs in a barrel. But specifically in the black community, it's very crabs in a barrel. Like everybody is clawing at each other to get to the top, rather than boosting each other. Obviously, I know that's something you're not going to personally relate to, but you see it, and
I see it a lot.
Yeah.
I see it a hell of a lot. It's sad to see as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think within the white community, it's just I'm not gonna lie and say there's none of that, because there definitely is, especially like it's definitely, but not as much. No way near as much. But that's even nastier. I think when it comes to like the white community, when it comes to that's when it's a lot nastier. I
think the problem I have with a lot of the time, I don't want to say it's a problem, but the issue I see is that you look at the Chinese community, for example, or even just the Asian community in general, the Asian communities,
like academia and like
that is one. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
But I think from what I've seen growing up, like people still like, I don't really want to mention it, but I'm going to mention it. So one of my mum's, my ex-stepdads, should I say, and name names.
Yeah.
Obviously, like lying, just to make himself look good, and then stealing property and selling it on.
Yeah.
To make himself look like he's better than he is. So it's sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as, it's just nasty, and it's not as in your face. I don't know. Like a lot of the stuff you see on the news is like
exaggerated or.
Yeah, and getting money as well. Like it's all about like, oh, everyone's like doing crimes and everyone's like robbing people, like knife point and stuff. But it's that, and then I think white collar crime just as worse, really. Like
yeah.
I mean, not like on like a cultural level, but I think, what's the word for it? What's the word?
Help us out here.
G-man, help us out. Morally.
Yeah, on a moral
I think
level.
It's a lot worse doing that when you're in a position of power than you are when you've got nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, as you said, it's like that, but it's not even just with the people that are down bad. It's the people that are up there that have got the power and stuff. That are
the resources. And
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because this is the thing with the Asian communities in general. It's like with them guys, their money circulates within the community.
I was going to say, because big families and stuff, not every, but like parties, birthdays, Christmas, like my friends that are part of the Asian community, every Christmas I see them on Snapchat, like money, like your grandparents, you know what I mean?
So yeah, because my girl's Asian, and they have like big get-togethers on that, and they go all out.
Well. It's investments. It's it's smart thinking though. It is smart thinking. I think I don't know. Like my stepdad, his family's Jewish, so his dad used to buy him a bottle of whiskey, not like a cheap bottle of whiskey, but something that he'd know over time would age to be, you know what I mean? Yeah, just that investment.
Because I think you know what? Funny enough, Anthony Joshua brought this up, and I think we touched on this in the last episode. But for example, with the local shops, their money goes around threefold, like at least. Whereas look at the black community, and yes, we have Caribbean shops here and there, but black people don't want to shop in them on a regular basis, at least, because of the service and the the energy they provide the community. Like for one, you go to a Caribbean place and what did they say? Yeah, ask for this, and they say, me not have that, me not have that. You know what I mean? What am I gonna get? What am I gonna get then? Like you've got like 2 things on the menu, and you think I'm gonna be enticed to come here. You know what I mean? For one, and then 2. I mean, this is not all. For the record, yeah, this is not all Caribbean places, but there's a lot of it. 2, like it's the service. Like you never see at a Chinese shop, really, they give you like poor service. Like they run it, whereas like there's a lot of at least Caribbean shops. That's all I can really talk for. Where there's a lot of, they're not attentive. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things that is an outward reflection of how a lot of black people are seeing their own community.
From your perspective, though, from someone that's in that community, would you say there's a reason behind that? Like lack of attentiveness?
Yeah,
I wouldn't say a lack of hunger.
Yeah,
because everyone's just as hungry as the next person.
Yeah,
but from what you've said, like, I mean, I don't eat out at regular Caribbean places because I live in the sticks. But like, would you say there's a reason for it?
I think more than anything, it's like I don't need to do this for you because I don't know. I think it's like
this is my business. You come here, like,
yeah,
we'll serve you what we've got, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's one of them. It's like not thinking outside of that bubble. It's like it's settling for that bubble. It's like this is what we're at now. We don't need to do anything to push that.
Like we're at a comfortable level.
Yeah, more so like this is where we're at. The system has told us this is all we're gonna be at. So why should we make extra effort towards pushing out of that? And I think that reflects in the service and the overall experience. Is like this is what we're at. We can't get any further out of this type thing. I want to touch on experiences. Like, was there a defining moment where you were like, this music stuff is me, and I know this is me, like 100%?
Yeah.
Or is it still to this day where you're like, obviously everyone has doubts, but is it ever a point where you're like, maybe this is not what I'm always trying to do? Or was there a certain point where you just had come to a realization?
There's some days where like you'll wake up and you'll be like, is this what I want to do? But them for me them days are quite rare. I want to say, hopefully anyway, as much as I can remember. But it's definitely like from I've got one song. I forgot what the name of it was, but I've got one song. And the line was Muhammad told me to meditate, and I'm talking about my old school teacher, Muhammad Amin Islam, and he converted to Islam when he was early 20s, like 23 something. He's from Nottingham, from like when he was younger. Just like being out and about, being like doing kid stuff, you know what I mean, like session that. And obviously he was all into the music. Like he grew up throughout the 90s, like throughout the golden era and stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like when like Slum Village and like Dilla and Erykah Badu were like first releasing, he was like he was there, innit? So he put me onto all that. Like before him, I had no like concept of who's Jay Dilla, like who's the roots,
the origins. Yeah,
what's that like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was put onto all that, and at the time I was listening to like Tyler the Creator, like the early Earl Sweatshirt stuff, like Odd Future, that kind of thing. Okay. So that was like that's like a creative, more hip hop thing, and they put me onto that, and then it was like my mind's been opened up to a whole other world of like soundscapes, and then through that it's just finding other artists, and you get to like the jazz and the funk and.
So, because I know...
But that was like, when he put me onto that music, I was like, yeah, I know, this is what I want to do. Like, there was nothing, before that I was doing like art and stuff, but it wasn't like how I'm into it now. But when he played me that music, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like I went home, and that summer, like I got my equipment, like I got my first equipment. I was like, I'm making beats, so I'm gonna show him. And he was like my inspiration to start it, kind of. And then from that, he was like, yeah, this is it.
It's funny because a lot of hip hop, R&B, and soul was luckily both my parents. At least were heavily into music. My mum doesn't really actively listen to music like that anymore, which is it makes me sad in a way, but my dad still does. My dad's still active on it. I don't have the best relationship, my dad never have, but I am the one thing I'm thankful for is the music he was playing and showing me at a young age. Like some of the craziest memories, or the most like vivid memories I can think of when I was 4 or 5, falling asleep to the tunes in the back of the car. And yeah, people like Slum Village, people like Busta Rhymes, people like A Tribe Called Quest, LL Cool J, bag of people, man. Big Daddy Kane, people like that. They were all in my ear in the back of my dad's car when he'd be picking me up. So I was blessed to have that, especially on the hip hop side. And then I was kind of the Muhammad for my people at school. So a lot of them didn't know the old stuff. And I was like, bro, because you like Joey Badass, you'll like this.
That's mad you said that. That is literally the reason I connected with him in the first place. Like, we were sitting in the back of a school bus on the way like a school trip, and he was like a new teaching assistant. He's like, what are you listening to? 1999 by Joey Badass. And like,
that's nuts.
That's sick, bro.
You know why that's nuts to me? Because so many people have said to me, like fairly recently, that's what inspired me to my new kind of view on music, was because of what Joey Badass created then. Like it was a new switch
Joey
up.
Badass, like before he put me onto all that stuff, like I think that would have been like the start of it. And then he showed me all this other stuff that sounded very similar, like Lab Cab in California by the Far Side. That's like, I can go back to that album any day of the week and every single tune's a banger. Like, there's just something about like the swing. And I
remember at the time, reading a couple articles when. So the reason I heard Joey Badass was because there was some kind of, when Worldstar first started popping off, and everyone was just like, Worldstar this, Worldstar.
And they were doing the music videos as well.
Yeah, it was a freestyle that went viral of Joey Badass, and I'm pretty sure they would have been in high school at this point.
Oh, was it him and Capital Steez like at their high school on like a little Nokia?
Yeah, it was bare like low qual. I think it was him, Steez, CJ Fly, and maybe Nick Caution in the video.
Nick Caution? Yeah, it was like in a hallway, like a staircase or something.
Yeah, I can't quite remember in it, but I remember it was on Worldstar, and that was when everybody was just like sharing Worldstar going on it. I remember on my big like PC at my mum's at the time, I'd just scroll down Worldstar and that was on the feed. Found it. Yeah, and I was like, who's this? I
think I found that video in like 2014. I must have found a video.
Yeah, I can't remember what year. I think it was it was either 2012 or 2013, one of the two. But and then yeah, not long after that, he dropped 1999, I think. And then, yeah, I just remember because everybody at school as well knew about the album. And then that's when I was like, okay, if you man like this, then you're like that. You know what I mean? Like MF Doom was one of them. Because obviously there was... I think, was it? I swear it was on 1999 where they used MF Doom beats in it.
They used a bunch of like the what they're called?
The special herbs.
Special herbs.
Yeah.
I've got the red one. Is that 3 and 4?
The 3 or 4 or 4 or 5.
It's got the...
I can't remember what it is.
Zatar on it, I think.
Yeah.
But the one I've got has got some of the beats off 1999.
I think 1 and 2 are some of my favourite ones.
But it's the Dilla cuts off that album.
Yeah.
Snakes. That's a fat tune.
One of my favorite Dilla produced albums. It's Dilla produced, but it's like because it's his brother.
The Illa J one.
Yeah, what's it called?
See,
Timeless.
That's why I bought the instrumental version on vinyl.
Yeah,
I love the beats.
There's that DFTF track.
His brother is like, I like his brother. Have you heard his new stuff?
About a year ago was the last time I heard his stuff. Sam Cooke, there you go. It's the last tune I heard, I think. Yeah, he's cold.
He's found his own like voice in it, like he's singing sick, bro.
Was it? I think I was saying to you in it. I was like, there's only one artist that can have their drum machine in a museum.
Yeah. Like, Dilla, bro. Dilla.
That's crazy. Because I had I don't know if you know about K Caleb. I'm gonna have to show you K's stuff. But
what was that for?
Yeah, G Man knows about some of the flips that he's done. But yeah, like you can hear a lot of J Dilla in Caleb's music. Obviously, he's got his own style, but you can hear the influence.
Have you heard any of it, like more older SoundCloud stuff? Or I was uploading like the rap stuff with Jack.
Nah, I don't think so. You know, the first track I heard from you was ThreeSixty. It's the first one I heard. Yeah.
Okay, well after this, I'm logging into that and I'm sharing some other stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna put you on to K. But me and him were talking about J Dilla's legacy in the last podcast. That'll be out soon as well.
That's a whole conversation.
Yeah.
I think without Dilla, I don't think anyone would be here now.
No one would be sampling the way they were sampling.
No, I don't think music would be the same.
Yeah.
I don't think music would be the same at all. I think if you look even deeper than that, like Questlove was like Questlove changed the way he played drums because of Dilla. Yeah. Like he fully untaught himself how to learn drums. Like 2 or 3 years doing that Voodoo album with D'Angelo. Oof. But like imagine. Yeah, let's not even talk about that album. That album's bad.
That's probably one of the most played albums.
That is my favourite album of all time. That is my favourite album of all time.
It's definitely one of my favourite albums.
It's that album that you can play from front to back 5 times without skipping anything.
Yeah. You know the amount of intimate situations I've got in with that album?
Let's not talk about that.
Okay, I want to move on to this as well. As far as how important do you feel a producer to artist chemistry is to make?
Very important.
Yeah, because...
Example, Ashbeck and Londo.
Yeah.
As of recent, that's...
Yeah. When you hear Ashbeck, you hear Londo, innit? It's one of them.
Yeah. And I don't think you can hear a Londo beat without hearing Ashbeck over it, you know what I mean?
You see that Londo.
So like Playboy Carti to Pierre, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Who else? Legendary collabs. Timberland, Timberlake, Timberland, Missy Elliott, Dr. Dre, Snoop. Who else?
Buster on that. Producer wise.
Yeah, producer to artist.
Madlib and Doom.
But
you know what? The story behind that wasn't as like I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because they weren't like in a room making tunes all day. Like, they went to Brazil and Madlib was just in his room all day making beats. And then when they were living in LA, Doom would be up in the morning and he'd write to the stuff.
A little bit closer, bro.
Like, they'd be awake at different times. So when Doom was awake, he'd be asleep, vice versa. So when Doom would wake up, he'd have like a whole like batch of beats to write to, like a whole like 10, 12 beats.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the most natural collabs I've heard, it wasn't producer to artist, it was artist to artist, but Mos Def and Talib Kweli. Because I saw like a panel interview with them guys and they were saying because they came out with Black Star.
Well, yeah, there's Black Star and then High Tech and Talib Kweli.
Yeah, Talib. Yeah.
That album, what's it called? Is it even a Black Star album, or is it just High Tech and Talib Kweli?
Yeah, no, it's not a Black Star album.
Or something.
Yeah.
They've got like skits all over it, and it sounds like famous people. Like it sounds like they've got
I know the one you mean, bro.
Malcolm X or like Nelson Mandela or something on it.
Reflection Eternal.
That's the album.
Yeah.
That's a bad album.
But the Mos Def and Kweli, they didn't make music together after the first Black Star album for Time, innit? But they were like, we did that deliberately because
like a little fallout or something.
I don't know if it was a fallout. I think they were just doing their own thing. Because obviously Mos Def was like...
Mos Def moved to Islam for a while.
And he moved to South Africa.
I think he moved to South Africa. That was a lot longer after.
Yeah.
Reflection Eternal and that Black Star stuff. They did that comeback show, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like a couple of years ago or something.
Like, yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
That would be sick to go to.
I think with that, it was like, they said, literally, we didn't want to start working on new music before... You're right, it was something to do with Fallout. I can't remember what it was.
They had some Fallout. I mean, like both people, like Talib smokes and drinks all day, and then Mos is like a Muslim man. You know what I mean? Like,
I think, yeah. They basically summarized. They said, yeah, we didn't want to make music if it wasn't in a state where we were both aligned. Do you know what I mean? Because it wouldn't have. They said Black Star came so naturally, without thought. And they said until that feeling came back, they wouldn't reinvest again.
Makes sense. I mean, you wouldn't want to like waste your time trying to put energy in something that's not going to work. So it makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, in summary, we're saying that producer to artist and artist to artist chemistry is very crucial. Yeah, man. How do you feel about hardware versus what's the word? Hardware versus software, yeah.
Again, that's a difficult one because as much as I love software because it's easy,
yeah,
I love hardware,
yeah,
because you ain't got a screen. You know what I mean? So, would you rather paint on a canvas or would you rather paint on an interactive whiteboard? You know what I mean? That's the way I explain it to people. It's a difference. I think because the way I make my music, I've got Machine, which is good because it's half software, half hardware. So you can make music without looking at your screen. You can just look at the little screen on the thing. And I tried doing that for ages, and even that's difficult. But
because I think there's a couple of routes you could go. Because obviously from the process, I hear what you're saying, but like
the rate. Well, I need to fix it because it's all got sticky, but buttons have stopped working, so it's not as good. But when it was working fully and it was like light touch on the buttons, without looking at a screen, I could like chop up drums in like a minute just by doing it all by hand. Yeah, like muscle memory, but I can't do that now. I've got to use my computer. But
yeah, because the main issue I have with, let's say, software from a distribution standpoint is that, you see, if you have, I don't want to say hardware, actually, I want to say analog, to be more specific. It's like, I think JME's gone this whole route of like, okay, I'm going to release my music exclusively and just on like vinyl, or like, I don't think it's just vinyl, but he tried to do that, innit? Because I think the problem is with streaming services, is that it's so disposable. It's like, I think unless you're a music head, innit, then you appreciate the music regardless. But at the same time, naturally, I think it's different when you actually buy a record and you buy a physical copy and you put it into something and you play it. It's like more of an experience. You have a lot more
respect for it as well, I think.
I think.
Whereas if like, you just wake up, you got a notification, like Trey Songz dropped a new album. Great, let's download that, like wicked.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, I'm going to the shop and I'm buying it on like a vinyl and I'm taking it home. I'm cleaning the dust off it, like I'm respecting it. Like I'm making sure my machine's like clean to play it, making sure it all sounds good. Whereas just, you know what I mean? Putting your headphones in, pressing play, and it's that.
Yeah.
I think it is a deeper respect for the music.
Yeah.
The fact that you got to take care of it. It's like CDs. Like you would try not to scratch your CDs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing as well. It's somewhat beautiful about being connected to the process as well, and it's like even I don't know this.
Are you on about like listening to music or making it as well?
Both, to be honest, but more so listening to it, being a consumer of it. I think that's where I have the conflict with it, is the consumer side of how your music gets listened to by the consumer.
See, that is a sticky one, because you know what I mean. Like for me, I could upload a tune on SoundCloud, but that's all it's gonna go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got it in person, it's a physical. Like you've manifested something. Like
Yeah.
You can hold and like like that book. Like if you're looking at it on a computer, it's different than opening it up and going through pages.
Yeah, man.
So is that yeah.
What
Having a connection to some like sort of energy, I suppose. Like whatever you make, if you hold it yourself, you're gonna transfer a tiny bit of your energy onto whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I feel that in a way, like you investing in something and you're giving it out to people. You know what I mean?
I always think of like the I don't know how to describe it, like the stimulus, the information that you're getting from physically doing that or doing this or whatever it is. With something that's digital, obviously you can't physically feel it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
The texture.
Smell it. Sometimes
Opening
there's a
book
smell.
Is the best thing.
Fam, you know, there is such a thing, like, you know, when you say, oh, that smells like a new book.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole sensory thing to it.
Going to the record shop, getting a vinyl, you don't know who it's belonged to. Like this has probably come from some guy's yard in Germany. Like,
yeah, it's nuts.
You know what I mean?
It's the same, because vinyl, if you want to call it crate digging or whatever, there's a lot of similarities to me, how I perceive it, to like thrift shopping with clothing. It's like you
got a story in it.
Yeah, there you go.
Like I'm walking down the street, like I hear something, I'm like, oh, what's that? Let me just record that. Like that's a sick sound, like that kind of thing.
I think Timbaland does that. He like uses
like,
voice notes to record stuff outside.
Shook Ones by Mobb Deep. That like, at the start of it, that's a hub.
Russ. Used it as a hi-hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. Okay. Last thing that I want to touch on with you, is shall I touch on it? I was gonna say the BMAs. I haven't looked into the BMAs. Okay. Now we won't touch on that, because a lot of people have been like, BMAs don't know the Birmingham music scene. But
I don't really
invest in that.
I would say that I'm involved in BMAs, but I don't live in Birmingham, if that makes sense. Like I say that I'm from Brum because I live there. Like if you look at where I've lived all my life, like that's the majority of where I've lived most of my life, apart from where I'm living now. But like from growing up, like 11 to 15, like 10, 15, growing up in, that's like your main part of your childhood, I think.
Yeah.
I think anyway. But
yeah, that's the development stages, you get me?
But again, I had this conversation about Birmingham music scene like at college earlier, and we were talking about like people that come and do shows in Birmingham. Like the first time a band will come to Birmingham will be the last time coming to Birmingham, unless it's sold out, because people won't want to spend the money to go and see them, you know what I mean? Especially if it's like less than £5. It's like, nah, what's that? You know what I mean? But I was talking to other mates about it, and they were like their families are like deep Birmingham. They're like, yeah, because we're cheap. It's like trying to save money. But I think the music scene here it's growing a lot, but I think we're quite behind London.
I think all it is, is because it comes to the city in general. It's not like we don't have sick artists and don't rate the artists. It's
in
like
the middle of everywhere, but it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but it's like the history as well. It's like only talk on like a superficial level, but it's like, that's a dirty place, man.
I was gonna say, like, everyone's like, oh, you got a dirty accent. Oh, you got a dirty accent. Fuck off, man.
But or they're just like, it's just a shit place, at it. Like, just it's a shit hole. So I think on a superficial level in the past, it was always like, that's in Bromdo. Or
I love Peaky Blinders, but I don't think Peaky Blinders has brought like a positive.
Nah.
Like it has, but people are like, oh yeah, that's what Birmingham used to be like. London's better. Like London's more technical, like advanced, and it's like,
But that's the thing, like, that's expected. Like, people should expect that. And I think a lot of the time, people that say that are people from London. And London is a bubble in itself.
You know what's funny? Yeah, you know Alhan?
Yeah.
He did, I got him on PlayStation. Had him on PlayStation. Talked to him a few times.
Live chat.
Oh, he just roasts everyone.
Yeah.
Talking about Birmingham. And like, when I talked to him, he was like, where are you from? I was like, from Birmingham. He's like, are you from Birmingham? From Birmingham? Like, not even pronouncing the G. I was like, yeah, funny. He's like, oh, it's a shithole up there. It's a shithole. I was like, nah, not really. He's like, yeah, I'm from London. You should come down London. And then like a few months after that, he posted a tweet and he's like, Brum's one of the best cities. Because obviously like millions and everything. Yeah.
Nah. I think a lot of them, especially a lot of women, say like, rare, we hate on Brum this, so disgusting. But nah, deep down they respect it.
Deep down she wants a man from Brum. Like, deep down.
Safwan style. Yeah, nah, for sure. I think there's a lot to admire about the progression of the city.
It's the graft as well. Like, I don't want to say Londoners have it easy, but as far as making music goes, if you're from London, you're more than likely to like pop off.
It's the tight knittedness, because there's a I'm gonna call it the Birmingham syndrome. It's like the Birmingham creative syndrome, where you see other people doing their thing, and it's like people forget that we can help each other.
That is the thing, that I like about Birmingham a lot.
Yeah.
Is that people help. People are more inclined to help each other.
I would argue that and say that within the little close circles, yes, but as a whole, as a city, I think there's lots of little circles here and there.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, looking at like my little circle, like, it's just everyone eats.
All the cafe art, I'm like, that's the best example I've ever seen.
That would be
in the city.
That would be the best. That's everyone though. That's everyone. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't make music. Whatever, skaters come up. Like, even if you're not inside listening to the music, you're there. Like, also, it's a social event as well. You know what I mean? Shout
out Bene Culture as well, because they've been doing it. They were one of the first people that started pushing creative community. That's one of the first people that I witnessed doing that for the city. And they're consistent. They're still doing it now. You know what I mean? Repping the merch. I got bag of hoodies over there. Shout out Hemel, Vimmel, Hazim, all of you guys and it. But yeah, them and Cafe Artem are the two best examples I've seen for the city. I'm just interested in how you're trying to step into the new year. You might not have a plan for us. Just like as far as how you're trying to push yourself and elevate yourself as an artist. Obviously you've done a lot this year, but how you're trying to take that next step.
I've done nothing this year compared to what's next year. I think I did say a lot over lockdown I was going to do it, and I put on my story and people saw it. I was going to put up an album, and I just never made it. I think sitting inside with lockdown, I get inspiration from getting around places, and I've slowly like found that out. Like, sitting inside, you're not going to make anything new. Like, so quarantine's just been a chill one, like isolation and stuff. I think next year, definitely start of next year I'm going down to London, so it's next year's big.
It's just how you're trying to put it out there, because I know certain people want to project themselves as an artist in a certain way, whether it's just like exclusive, let's say, I don't know, exclusive Bandcamp stuff, or you don't want to use Spotify for this and that, or whatever, or you're just trying to do music video based tracks, or All of it.
Trying to put out some vinyl next year. Definitely trying to put out some vinyl next year. That EP I did, I want to do like a little 45, double,
okay.
the little 45. It's only 2 songs, isn't it? It's only like 2 short songs. But definitely March. That's all I'm saying.
March time. Watch out for that one.
March time.
Yeah.
But definitely doing some more stuff with other people. Got a little EP coming with Max.
Shout out Aloisius.
That should be
production.
That should be out starting next year. I don't know when. That should be like end of January. I think that should. I'll probably release that.
But yeah, man. That's been a very insightful conversation, to be honest. I've got a lot of value from that, and I hope everybody listening and watching to the podcast gets a little insight. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that's a wrap. We probably will see you in the new year. From now, there might be a couple little extra bits of content, etc., before then. But yeah, man, new year coming, consistency is there, new space is there, rejuvenated. You're gonna be seeing the regular faces. You know what I mean? So stay locked. And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm saying that to you because, you know, I appreciate your energy, your time. So it's been good having you, man. But yeah. Wow.